Here.
Commissioner Campus?
Here.
Commissioner Walls?
Here.
Commissioner Algieri? Here. Commissioner Toma?
Here.
Commissioner Floyd? Here. President Rocco?
I'd like to acknowledge the executive session meeting we had tonight, Monday, June sixth at 6 o'clock, to discuss personnel issues. Next is department reports. Code enforcement, we did not have a meeting this month. I'm sorry. Posting the committee reports. Let's skip the code enforcement. Engineering.
So nothing really to go in the pump station project, everything's moving along, as expected, so nothing really to get into the weeds there, unless anybody has any questions.
I have a question. On your report towards the end of Forest Hills, it says, you were working on with the CITF grant for Forest Hills.
Yep,
Wasn't that expired last year?
yeah, let me circle back, because I was talking about under the actual, like, pump station.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about the
If there's any questions on that, so, I'll just jump right to that. So Forest Hills CITF, so I'll modify that category to the CITF portion off of it, but we're still looking at the landslides that are up there. As a matter of fact, we had, Acton go up and take a look, and I talked to Greg today in the map. One of the recommendations that we're looking at is maybe some wall, moving the road, some things happening there. We haven't gone through that yet, through the design process, but what we need to do is some core borings up there. We're on Consol's property. So I spoke with Matt and with Greg. We're probably gonna need, we need to get a right of access agreement up there before we can go up and do any drilling. So, we sent an email, talked to Matt, sent an email. Once we get that, we can go up there and do some due diligence. But yes, the CITF part of that, the grant application, I don't think we got the money, but we were still directed by the commissioners to move forward, trying to mediate the spots.
Well, we did direct you guys to use the LSA grant, correct?
Yeah, I don't think we've heard anything from the commissioner.
So that would be the category.
If in fact we got a bucket of money, that's any remediation or anything that we do.
So on this course, I'm assuming we'd have to pay for another course sample for you guys to do this,
Acton now, it's geotech something we always recommend that you guys use. I think they sent a proposal over to Greg. It's just, yeah, you guys have paid for that, we go out and do some core samples up there.
Another question. I know you said we don't know. Do we have the time frame, estimated time frame? Do we have a yes or no on that grant, on the LSA grant that we applied for? No, I had no idea. Okay.
Some of our clients, they've been sending, some information out, asking for some follow-up, and, the information has been received and is under review. So
they have asked for follow-up?
I was thinking, I can't remember if it was in the case here, because we submitted so many applications, but they have it, and they have it.
Okay.
I want to follow up to that. Commissioner Tom, I was at a meeting last week with Allegheny Parks folks regarding the training center over Skyline Drive. And Allegheny County is still very, very interested in connecting Roundhill Park with the Gap Trail. And they are well aware, everyone at this meeting was well aware that Forest Hills Road needs to be fixed in order for that to happen, because that's the logical way to go. And I said to them, smart aleck, well, why don't you guys hurry up with that land acquisition so that we can get this started, because we're moving forward, we're spending money. And they said, well, bring it on. We need to start having a discussion with Allegheny County. Now, I don't know how to go about that. I have no clue. But I have a lot of contacts in my phone if you want to go for it.
Sure.
All right.
I'm sorry to interject quickly. Commissioner Algieri texted and said that he has to drop off the call. He's away, So he has to drop off the call for a bit, but asked that we call him back for under new business.
Okay.
Thanks.
So, John, do you have any contacts at the county that might be able to help guide into this? And I know this is getting way too far ahead, but they were talking about a joint project and bringing the Army Corps in a little bit. I mean, they got all excited when I started to talk about this.
Off the top of my head, I mean, the context that I have in the county, I don't know if they would be interested in that.
Okay. And I'll talk about that, because I think it's worth spending some time and making some.
I just want to stop us talking about it and start working on trying to get something done for them.
Yeah, so I mean, we're moving forward. I mean, we got a proposal from them. We went out and asked how they looked at it. We sent some preliminary stuff that they go over. So I mean,
Is there an estimate of a cost difference? Because we already just paid for one proposal from you guys a couple months ago. It was like in the 800,000, I think, range for the 3 slides. So in this new one that you're talking about, cutting into the hillside, that actually save us money?
I don't know until they go out and do some due diligence. I don't wanna tell you, yeah, they go out and take core samples and we gotta do something with it.
Alright.
The Jacktown Road Bridge, so we opened bids, last week. The low bidder was Gary Metzinger Cement Contractor. It was $396,000. Next was $684,000, I believe. Metzinger did send out a letter requesting a bid. There was a mathematical error in his bid. He looked at it, reviewed it, sent a spreadsheet out, and sent it over to Greg. There was truly a mathematical error. The next contractor is Dragon Excavating. Reached out to them today, had a conversation with Matt. They did not acknowledge one of the addenda. They said that they received it, they're gonna send us a letter. I was gonna try to get it from the owner of the company's wife, is the secretary, and she's in labor, so they sent out later on in the week. So, once I get that, I'll work with Matt and Greg. I mean, our intent is not to rebid it, because this is second, third were really close, the rest of the numbers were close. So, we can work through that issue, then we're gonna work going forward to get a recommendation to you guys for next month's meeting to award this.
So John, they're gonna accept the second of that. You're saying they will, okay.
Yeah, they're actually, I believe the conversation that my office had with them is they had it, they just didn't acknowledge it.
Okay.
Which would not be a material defect in the bid, which would be, you'd be able to cure that defect or waive the defect, so to speak, if you so choose, so. And I talked to John about it, they seem like they're a reputable company, and the numbers look pretty good, so we'll work on putting that all together.
And the rest of the items, that I have is the agenda, it's just the awards, and that's all. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Myrie. Chief,
I do have one other question, John. This goes back to the Jacktown Road Bridge. The bridge obviously needs to be replaced, but, there's a couple slides on that road. One in particular that if it goes, there's gonna be 7 or 8 residents that can't get out either way.
So, I'm glad you brought that up. When we had Ackenhout out to look at Forest Hills, we also took them up to Jacktown at the request of the board at the last meeting. So we're gonna get some recommendations from them on that as well. I think there's a proposal for them to do some, we sent it over to Greg as well, for them to do some surface investigation as well, so we're looking at that.
Okay, thank you. Paul, hey, Paul, has that gotten any worse since you brought it up to us? It has gotten worse in the past month.
Yeah, it's worse than it was last year.
Okay. It's scary. You go up there and look at that hillside, it's like, wow, these people are gonna have nowhere to go. The other end's closed.
Is it possible, and I'm just speaking this out of here, so, I mean, we're talking about doing another geo study on the Jackstown part, right? There's what you brought up, but we wouldn't be able to do that until next month to vote for that. Is it possible that we can vote now or something, or give them the ability to add a certain cap be able to do that, so the next meeting we're ahead of the schedule.
Well, I think we already gave them we gave KLH the okay to have the geotechnical work done on Jacktown Road at the last meeting, is that correct?
Yeah, and I believe we sent the proposal, had Dan
Yeah,
sent
it
it.
just showed up today.
Yeah.
Late this afternoon, so I'll get it to you guys.
I think it just needs, probably just needs a signature, if you guys would give it.
I believe it's around 28,000, I believe.
Matt, how would we handle that to expedite that? Because, wait until another month to load that in, and then we go another month before it gets done.
Yeah, due to the significant nature of it, I mean, it's approving your engineering's, cost estimate, is that what you're talking about?
Would be the proposal to do the geotechnical work, on Jack.
I mean, if you wanna expedite it, you could always approve it and then we'll stick it on next month for ratification.
Ratification.
Yeah, if you wanna get it done in a quicker manner, that's the only other way to do it.
So that would be a phone vote later this week on that after we have a chance to review the
And then
document.
we'll ratify it at the next meeting.
All right. All good?
Thank you.
Chief, please.
Yes, outside of my written report, I just wanted to touch on, just one particular item. The plane crash that happened on the 27th was a pretty remarkable incident for the township. I thought it was important to publicly acknowledge, our partners with, Southeast Regional EMS and, I mean, it's hard to just get into a list, but all of our regional fire partners from the volunteer fire companies from Westmoreland and Allegheny County. I think at one point we had as many as 16 different companies out there, just a remarkable response. And then lastly, in many ways, most importantly, Paul's team. After the victim, the operator of the plane was extricated and flown by life flight to Pittsburgh, his team came in and they built temporary access, some almost 600 yards into a wooded area for the FAA and the NTSB to get transport vehicles back here to put the plane on carriers and transport it back to Delaware, where it's still being forensically, taken apart, looked at. Just a remarkable work by your team, Paul. I mean, they were there quickly, professionally, and then our regional partners are just an amazing incident. We're very lucky with the resources we have here in Elizabeth Township, and, the fire department never sit there and forget that they're volunteer service. So, just unbelievable. Your team did a fantastic job, and they did it quickly and safely. So thank you.
Was the pilot still living?
Pilot remains in critical but stable condition.
I'd like to comment on that. First of all, the fact that it seems like very little news came out of it is a symbol of excellence from your team over there, Paul, and also our firemen, being able to handle all of that. It was like, oh, plane crashed. Okay. And then it seemed like it quieted down, but there was a lot of moving parts that happened in the background and kept us involved throughout the weekend. It was a holiday weekend, so not only our volunteers, but our policemen and our public works individuals spent a lot of time up there, a lot of dedication to make sure that things were done right. And I want to publicly say thank you to all you guys. You guys did a fantastic job. No news is good news, and that's what happened up there. It was great.
Anything else, Chief?
That's all.
Okay, thank you. Paul, Public Works.
Other than the written report, I have nothing to add to that.
Oh, if you could, real quick, could you just explain to everybody, there was some questions about what's going on with the signs in front of the schools, they weren't working, you got everything fixed, can you just explain what happened?
With the signs, when we first put them up, they were lasting about a week. And we charged the batteries, because we thought maybe the batteries weren't charged originally, so we did that, that wasn't working. So contacting they sent us another set of instructions on the correction of the panels, so we had to flip everything around. And the angles changed from what they had in the original instructions. So went through that, they're still doing the same thing, so they're gonna equal the
I know it was, you and I talked a lot on that, and, I know you guys went back and forth several more than the 3 times you just stated to work on those. And, now that they're up and running, we learned, and, I'm thankful for your guys' efforts on that.
Senator?
These all have to report in front of us, if there's any questions.
Any questions on Senator? Thank you. Solicitor?
Nothing outside the items we discussed in executive session.
Thanks, Matt. Great, Council Manager.
Thank you, Commissioner Blair. I'll keep it pretty brief. Part of my report included what John Meyer just mentioned, the Jacktown Road. I did include Commissioner Tobin asked me to print some signed invoices. In the back of that package is a map of the different slides that are occurring on Jacktown Road. So I was there with Connor and Jesse that day up on Jacktown Road. Everything is worse than it was even 6 months ago. It's progressively getting worse. It's very concerning. So I just wanted to bring that up. Jesse explained, he's the geotechnical engineer. He explained in great detail what's going to be done, and he did send the proposals, which I'll pass on to you, so we have a better understanding of what we're dealing with. I just wanted to mention that. That's one of the things that I have done over the last couple of weeks, is work with them on that project. Another project on my mind is the Mansfield Road water diversion project, the stormwater project. Again, one of the property owners is not going to grant us a right of way, so in order to expedite the project, get that water off of their property, I asked KLH to re-engineer the design a little bit. We'll see what that ends up. Instead of going through that property, they're going to hopefully design something that will cross the road and go into our right of way, straight into that creek and the bottom of the river. So more to come on that. I just wanted to update you on that. There is another concern of mine is at the intersection of Great Buena Vista Road and Stiche Street down in Union. Whenever the bridge was put in by Penguin a couple of years ago, I think 2018, we had to divert our sanitation lines that are in the creek, part of the Kites Hollow Run. And when we did that, we had to secure it with concrete, and by adding concrete to that manhole, we diverted the creek. And it's now starting to erode the property. So this has been an ongoing complaint of some of the residents down there. They're a little bit concerned. When I went down last to look at the problem, I did notice that there's about 10 trees on the far side of the creek that are, in my opinion, in danger of falling. The roots are exposed. The water is just continually eroding the ground. So I took the liberty of asking Tim Vasco to go look at it as far as tree removal. He gave me a quote of $8,900. These are 10 gigantic trees that I think we need to remove for liability purposes. So again, I'll just bring it up so we can talk about it over the next month, maybe vote on it next month. And then after that, I did talk with Kevin Craig from Gale Beach about creating some kind of design to, rip wrap, or just kind of stabilize that bank so it doesn't get any worse than that problem, hopefully forever. So anyways, that's something I wanted to look at. I wanted to bring to your attention. The other item I wanted to bring up was the idea of this piece of property next to the municipal garage, using it for storage with fencing. Paul did go get, we figured it would be able to be $11,000 limit, so we went 3 quotes. It was over 11,000. 2 of the quotes were under 21,000, which is the bid limit. So the fencing prices range from 50,000 to 27,000. I think the one in the middle was around 20,000. And again, those are all available to you on the drive, on the commissioner's drive. So again, I'm bringing it up so possible to vote on it. It is designed to meet the setback requirements for the property and for the zone that we're in. If we wanted it to be bigger, we'd obviously have to present that in front of the zoning hearing board and try to make it bigger. The current size, I think, is designed, it's on one of the floors. Just reference it here real quick. 102 feet by 92 feet
Say that again, please.
102 feet by 92. Yeah, big rectangle. And that would be a chain link fence with those slats that, those privacy slats that are weaved in the front.
Does it have a gate on it also?
Yeah, we'd have a gate. Yeah. And we would store a lot of the, more mobile public works and sanitation parts that are currently out here on the lot. So that's the idea. So again, maybe we can have that on the agenda for next month.
If we ask for a variance, how much more, size would we get if we were before the second?
I guess you can get what you ask for. I don't know how close you want to get to the road. I mean,
Well, how far is the setback, rephrase that, how far is the setback from the road?
it's 30 feet, I've heard.
30 feet
Currently.
currently.
Yeah.
How far is this going from the road? This bit here, to the
It's
30?
30, yeah, it's right to the setback.
Oh, you think this is big enough for you?
A lot.
Okay.
Well, my question is, do the variance and take it out 25 more feet, 5 feet from the road? 30 feet, you're losing a lot, that'd be 30 by 92.
Yeah, I'm just worried about when you're coming out,
Being able to see,
see, a lot of traffic coming out the bank.
point.
Yeah, you're making it nice.
Well, if we go 20 out further, that still leaves 10 feet from the road, right? 20 is better.
I'm gonna leave this up to Paul to figure that out if he needs to, if you need the room.
Even if he doesn't, I'd rather have the room, because we can always use more room. And everything's
I'll
so
send it out so everybody will.
Yeah, good idea, there's some stakes out there, see if
Well, that's what you think.
Yeah, I'm just worried about this, the setback and fence for bank traffic and traffic coming out of the municipal building, because it is gonna be an 8-foot fence with, the slats in it, so it's basically gonna be a wall. It's gonna be tough to see.
that's a good point.
It would help quite a bit.
Yeah, it's,
And then there's a motion to tear down the old salt shed, so the idea of all of this is to clean up the municipal lot, give Paul more room to store things and Billy, and then ultimately, in my opinion, pay the parking lots and make it look like it should. Parking lot's pretty bad condition. We really don't want to do any of that until we're done with all of this, in my opinion, but I think Paul agrees. The last thing on my report is I want to thank Mike Borgos from Southeast Regional EMS for providing first aid to the staff, the administrative staff. So we're all certified now in CPR and first aid. And tomorrow he's going to provide CPR, AED. We're AED certified now. We're AED and CPR certified. Tomorrow is the road department, AED, CPR, and stop and bleed. So that was all offered to us with no charge. So thank you, Mike, and thank you, sir. That's all I have.
Okay, thanks, Greg. Committee reports. Budget and finance, we met with Greg on Friday morning for a short time. Basically what we did was we figured out some of the items on the agenda where they were voting on, which ones to use some of the ARPA funds for. That's really about it. Anything you want to add, Cal? Okay. Code enforcement, we did not have a meeting this month. Parks and recreation.
Yeah, I'd like to take a few minutes and talk about an offer, if that's the right word, that Kevin Cray has brought forward. Kevin Cray is now the project manager for the Force Main project. Kevin Cray is John's compatriot at KLH. There's evidently a transformer pad that's going to be placed very close to the backstop and third base dugout. And Mealy has brought forward, Mealy is the general construction company. They have brought forward an offer, and their offer is that if we were to move home plate 10 feet towards the mound and rotate the field slightly to the right, they could then tear down that dugout and the backstop and do their project a whole lot easier. And what they've offered to do for the township is regrade and seed that entire Boston field. Now, those of us that have played ball on that field are really lucky that we still have our ankles And it's way worse than it ever was when I played down there. It's horrible. And so this is quite the offer that we have to start thinking about. Now, where it gets a little bit out of hand is, as we see from that fencing contract that you brought up for 300 feet of 8-foot fence was $20,000. Well, let me tell you, there's a lot more than 300 feet down there. And it would all have to be replaced. And it would involve new backstop, new dugouts, which all needs to be done, guys. We all know that needs to be done. Now, Kevin went so far as to measure the lines and keeping this all within the parameter of the existing light poles. So there would be no change in the light poles. But one of the things we have discussed is at some point switching those fixtures from sodium vapor to LED, so that can be rolled into this project. Now, I'd asked Kevin to give me a time frame as to when Mealy might want to start doing this, and I don't know. Have you heard anything, John? Probably not. This just happened like late last week.
No, but I would say within a few months.
Well, it has to be within,
Yeah, because I know that we're, working with the power company to look at maybe possibly relocating and transferring kind of one, so I think there's a bunch of stuff going on.
okay, all right. In that case, I don't know what else to tell you. I mean, I think it's an offer that we have to really seriously look at. I would extend it even further than that. The soccer field back there is very much an ankle breaker like the ball field is, and so we're gonna put some time and effort into that ball field. We should do the soccer field as well, because remember, it is dormant now. They can't get in there to use it. And that's what a field needs to recover. It needs planted in the fall, fall season and an early spring season to be able to be played on. I don't know, any questions, comments?
I'll leave it up to recreation to kind of figure that. I'm good like that, Kyle.
Yeah.
I'm on the board with Kyle. I spoke with Brian Zorenda from Sarah, and we talked a little about expectations and things like that. And actually, right now, they really can't even play on that field with those dugouts because they're not up to PIA code as far as how many players can fit in them. So I think they're kind of letting go because it's like they've been doing it for so long, but at some point, it's gotta be changed, or else, I mean, the fence is so bad down there. You can't only fit 15 guys on the dugout. So, and the typical team is 24 people. So, I mean, this may all come together to solve the problem in one shot. So, definitely something that if they offer and it works out, we need to definitely look at it as a package. So,
Well, if it's okay for the rest of the board, I think the rec committee should start investigating what it would cost to have a new field designed with new backstop, new dugouts, modernized, bring it up to where it should be.
the new dugouts basically are just fenced in squares with a piece of tin on top of them. So it's basically part of the fencing contract. There's no construction, not a pad or anything. So that's the new way with dugouts. It lasts forever, basically. So, I mean, that would be something, right, basically right in the fencing contract. You don't even see dugouts that just be fencing, so.
John, is that something that you guys can do an RFP for?
Just eventually, yeah. I mean, once you find out how much it's gonna cost, we can put together basically a fencing contract, once we know that, conceptual done.
Absolutely. Well, remember that part of what's driving this is Kevin Cray's request to put the transformer pad there. So if there's a chance that you're gonna re-engineer the location, then we need to really do this thing. I know, there's a lot of moving parts.
I'd have to talk to him, because I didn't know he talked to you, so I'd have to find out, I'd have to dig into it.
Yeah, I'm sorry to blindside you with this, John. I know you were away last week, and this just came up in the middle of the week. I didn't have a chance to talk to you about it.
Yeah. You can still maybe get a fencing contract on it, if you get a price. If it comes in ridiculous, then maybe we do something.
All right, thank you. That's it, thank you.
Thanks. Anything on personnel? Okay. Public safety and public works?
We cannot
sanitation committees, would like to recommend, that in perpetuity, that whenever the paving list is announced, that we direct the powers that be to camera and or clean the lines that are involved with these roads. It's something that used to be done, because Township got away from it, but it really makes perfect sense. Really, Matlock and Veolia have, been asked by our Township manager, Greg Butler, to go ahead and move on with this, and they'll be quite capable of doing that. And it should be done every year like that. We've got a pretty big vote on the list tonight, which I'll talk about when we get to that, in case there's any questions from the public about what we're doing there. That has to do with the cleaning and cammering of the Happy Hollow line. We also have another emergency problem that we gotta deal with on Lincoln Hall, which is gonna get pricey. So, yeah, nothing cheap in sanitary, guys, nothing cheap.
And we did not have a comprehensive plan meeting yet. No presentations, public comment. Mary Ann Connick. Mary, can you state your name and your address?
Mary Ellen Connick, 300 Long Street. I've spoken to several of you already before. I'm here because of the property at 304 Long. It has bamboo that is 20 to 30 feet high, adjacent to my property line. It is now growing on my property. The house at 304 has been vacant since late March, early April of last year. The gentleman, Steve Lemansky, was admitted to pain. However, I did find out something that I thought was interesting, in that the deed for the home is still in the name of the parents who are deceased. Now, whether or not that makes a difference in what can be done, I don't know. But my problem is the rate of growth and depth of the roots. I'm concerned that it's going to end up doing something to my sewer lines. And you also, at the bottom of my driveway, have a storm sewer that runs down to the river, which transects with the yard where the bamboo is. So whether or not that could get into your storm sewer, I don't know. I did some research on bamboo. It said that the depth of the roots could be 2 to 3 feet. So I don't know how deep your storm sewers are. All I know is I don't want it in my yard. I don't want it to overtake my property. And I wanted to know if something could be done about it.
Right, I've been down, obviously, now I've talked to you several times to see the property. It's in the backyard, right behind the house. I'm not sure what we can do or not do, on that property.
Did we talk on the phone? You
Yes,
and I?
we
Yeah.
did.
So I told her we could not do it, only because we have not set that precedent, so to speak. And I explained why and how we cut grass, keep
Yes.
the neighborhood in order, whenever we have quite a few homes in the township that, are vacant and the owners are deceased. And it's a gigantic problem, as I explained.
Right, but, and I understand that. However, when I went onto your webpage, ordinance 304 for trees interfering with sewers being unlawful, it states that any sanitary or storm sewer or apparatus, the roots or wood shrubbery, trees or plants or any part thereof, enter any of the pipes, joints, manholes, and furnitures and interfere with the operation and maintenance of the same, every such condition is hereby declared a nuisance, which may be abated under the provisions of this part.
Very well, we'll look into this, we have code enforcement meeting coming up, and one of us will call you back.
Thank
Okay,
you very much for your
what's going
time.
on. Okay, thank you. Okay, Linda Bennett.
Linda Bennett, 1511 Smithfield Street, Boston, PA, and I'm here on behalf of the Elizabeth Township Historical Society. And what I want to do is give you a little bit of a history lesson, but I'm also going to be asking you for some money. I'm talking about the Jerome Methodist Church. It was first constructed in 1824 and faced Henderson Avenue, with the cemetery alongside between the church and the river. The church was a large two-story building holding over 500 people. Parishioners were from the villages of Jerome, Stringtown, and across the river, Shaner, Robinson Station, and Guppy Hollow. People used to cross the river to come to church 3 ways. When the water was shallow, they waded. Other times, they would take the Shaner Sky Ferry for 10 cents. Price of gas, $5 now. Or they would take the water ferry, which was large enough to hold a team of horses and a wagon, and was powered by 4 men with oars. So the church burned in 1834 and was reconstructed in 1835. It burned again in 1909, ignited from sparks from a passing steam train. The train line runs down there. So it was not rebuilt, and parishioners then attended a church in Buena Vista. But it was named after the DeVoe family, who were prominent in the area, opening early coal mines, being active in the river trade, and helping incorporate the P&L Railroad. Captain John DeVoe was the first lay preacher. Now, with that being said, the cemetery we now own, we're responsible for the Historical Society. There are 76 identified burials there and more that are unidentified. There are 10 known veterans. 1 was from the War of 1812 and 9 from the Civil War. I did not know we owned this until last year. So what has happened is we maintain it. We do the grass cutting there, as well as the Coulter Cemetery. So with that being said, a letter, our past director, Ray Shepard, he's now deceased, wrote Joanne Bekowitz. So this letter is dated October 31st of 2011. Back then, the grass was $760. Now, last year, it was $1,920 that we paid, $1,920. So we're trying to maintain this. The trail is actually in the township. It is quite a remarkable addition to the township for people coming and using the bike trail. So if there's any way that you can help us out with these maintenance costs, I'd greatly appreciate it. And then also the sign down at the Boston Bridge when you cross, I maintain that. I plant the flowers, I weed it, I go down in the evening and I water it, unbeknownst to you, and I don't charge anything. I do it as a kind of pride. So I'm just gonna leave you with that. Thank you very much.
Just a quick question, Linda. You just gave us a number of $1,920, and so you're paying somebody with a zero turn to cut that?
Yes.
And what is that, a yearly charge, a monthly charge? What is that, $1,920?
That's what it takes us to maintain that from the first cutting in spring through the fall.
Okay.
And our guy that we have cuts the Coulter Cemetery as well as the DeVoe Cemetery.
Culver's on the other side of the road.
Yeah, and I didn't realize that. I didn't realize it was our responsibility to do that. So, we send out
He
sponsors.
brings his own machine in?
Yes, it's done quick, yes. And it really is, it's quite nice area to be out there. QED did a, expose, so to speak, with Queen Alipippa, because it was her cornfield camp that's next to the DeVoe Cemetery. But unfortunately, everybody's deceased. We had 2 people that we're still getting some donations from, but now they've since passed away. So there's literally nothing.
I would commend you for your efforts down there. You do a great job. Montauk Trail Council is your neighbor there.
Yes.
I'm sure that you have many mutual members on both of those boards. Have you approached them to help you with this situation? They have nice equipment to cut grass with down there.
No, I have not. Tim actually is the president of the trail.
And Tim got
We
paid for it.
own the land. We own it. So we're responsible for it. That pavilion, we own that pavilion, we're responsible for the maintenance of that. So.
Well, where I'm going on this is, I would not like to see a situation where we ask our DPW to cut any more grass from our trail council, because they're already spending hours and hours and hours helping. But I also know that they have a nice groundsmaster and a nice zero turn, that they do their own area down there at the campground, and that your area is not that big.
No.
So perhaps you could approach Tim and say, hey, could you help us out here?
Okay.
But we'll also consider this too.
Okay, thank you so very much. And as far as Allegheny County Council, you might contact Bob Mason. He can't help you with the parks because I was on that committee.
Yeah, Mr. Macy's been involved with this group as well already, as, so is Mr. Betkowski on it as well. Two good guys. Thank you.
Kevin Carlo.
Everybody. Kevin Carluck, 2180 Smithdale Road. Basically, this is a follow-up from March. I talked to Mr. Butler last week, and I gave a couple of proposals of my suggestions, I should say, because Mr. Rockland had asked me to meet with Mr. Butler. And so we talked, and I just wanted to present it to the board real quick, because I figured I could do it in 3 minutes. So one of my proposals I told him was, now this is, like I said, I don't know how far-fetched this is, but I was proposing to him, and he didn't seem like it was that far-fetched, I mean, the way he was talking, but I think it should be named the Charles J. Carlock Municipal Building of Elizabeth Township, there's the one. And then I said, not maybe name the driveways after him, you know, Charles J. Carlock Drive here coming in. Or, and like I said, I've been working with PSATC and, the league municipalities, and they're gonna help me with cost if we need. I thought about putting like signs up, even coming into the township, welcome to Elizabeth Township, home of the longest elected official in the state of Pennsylvania, Charles Carlock, 48 years. And I mean, like, so, I mean, maybe we could do 2 of them even, whatever you decide, it's fine with me, but I just wanna give you a couple quick proposals. You know, who's decide which is one, you know, I just wanna give you my input on it, and like I said, I was talking to PSATC though, they did have a meeting on it also, which they will help find some of it. I mean, they told me, and also I talked with Beth Mills, and she said, if I need anything from her, she would help me too, along with it. So, whatever this guy's gonna do is fine, you know, I think it's the right thing to do, like I said, because I don't think any of those guys want to be here 48 years. I mean, he can ran for governor, and I'm gonna thank you for doing what you're doing before it goes this, and thank you for what you did at Smithfield too. But,
One of the
yeah.
ideas that I had, Mr. Carlisle, is actually, if we can ever get Forest Hills fixed, is actually renaming that road to that, because, I mean, looking at the history, I looked at his obituary, and it talked about how he ran the sewage down there every night after he worked all day. He went down there and did his manual pump down there.
Right.
And he was one of the instrumental pieces of actually making that road happen, you know, 60-some years ago. So that was one of the ideas I thought. I think that'd be a great trip.
That'd be fun.
And he helped and built.
I just didn't ever know,
Make the
open
road
back up, that's all.
Yeah, so
But I see
Frank and
you're
I
working.
talked about that very, very briefly, but I don't want to rename a road that's broke.
Right.
Yeah, because that's not, that's
That's what I thought.
But I would love to get that road fixed.
That'd be fine. I don't know.
That would be a suggestion, but I like your suggestions too as well.
I don't know if Mr. Flay remembers or not, but I believe that, in the road department worker was killed on there or something, had himself on the back of the truck and he fell out, there was my hand back there, he used to have salt boxes there too, where the residents could throw salt on, you know, if they wanted to, but there was somebody in the back of the truck working on the road department and they were shoveling and fell out and got killed there. So there was a lot of stuff there. There used to be an old mine back there, which the county had sealed up a couple of years back, I think about 7 years back. But I just want to let everybody know that's what I recommend, you know, whatever you want to do, like I said, I just want to thank all you.
I appreciate that. Definitely, whatever we end up doing, we would like to talk with you first.
That's fine.
And, you know, we'll run honor very well.
Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. Thanks. Very much.
Scott Taylor.
Good evening, everybody. Scott Taylor, 304 Mohawk Drive. On agenda item, dealing with Olympus Energy. I believe you guys all know that the planning commission tabled their decision to push it out a month, waiting for more answers because their presentation, as well as most of what the public said there, created more questions than answers. My main point at that meeting was the application being incomplete. I know talking to a couple of commissioners here, this will be another subject for the end here, they don't have the information to review as I speak to them. So they have no idea what I'm talking about, both on this and my text. See, they're still sitting in John Snelson's office weeks later after receipt here. I don't know why. The conclusion of the planning commission, public, myself, and a few others, I'll read exactly what I read to them. We're requesting recommendation from that board to the Board of Commissioners to deny both applications as presented and have Olympus resubmit when the full plan and permits are available. Namely, just due to incompleteness. You guys have the ability to deny it right here tonight. I'm asking you guys to put the motion on the floor and vote to deny both applications. Have them bring it back when they're complete. That gets you out of the time frame issue. Because you guys are on the clock to make a decision. The health safety issues, there's nothing in that application whatsoever on the emergency preparedness. They haven't talked to the high school. Job number one for you guys is health safety and welfare of the residents of Township. Children are at the top of that list. God forbid something happens on that platform, on that well site, even if a fire. How do you evacuate that school in a moment's notice? You don't. I'm sorry. The KLH reports for this, John, you guys should be embarrassed what you guys handed over to this township. The reviews that you guys did for the last two well sites were well over 15 pages long, went line by line through the ordinance. These are a couple of points, and your representative said other than a couple of clerical errors, everything was fine. These applications, these reports were not even talked about at planning. There were a couple of questions from these guys, mundane, stupid stuff, but nonetheless, they did put some questions on. They were not even talked about at planning commission. Yet another reason to deny this. It's crazy, guys. You guys need to deny this and just have them come back when it's complete, if they get it complete. They haven't even found out half their applications to the DEP up till last week. And I would actually start with asking for your binders. Grab them out of Snelson's office on the way out here so you guys can start reviewing this. Know what the hell you're talking about. At least have an educated conversation with me when I ask you questions. It's sitting right there in his office. Since the day after last week, May 3rd, they've been sitting in that office.
Thanks, Scott. Fred Bickerton.
Fred Bickerton. I'm here to talk about Olympus Energy too. These people should not be allowed in our township. You look at the DEP violations. Olympus Energy averages 6.4 violations by the DEP per well installed. The average of the top 20 well drillers in the state is 0.9. Olympus is 7 times that number. EQT is putting wells over here in Forward Township. They average 0.3 wells, or 3 violations per well. Olympus is 21 times that. Nobody in this state is near the number of violations. They're almost 4 times the number of violations of the second worst company in the state. Why would you let somebody with a record like this put a gas well alongside of your school and endanger our kids? You need to deny this application. Tell them to get out of here.
Point, Fred, are these violations or are these complaints?
These are violations documented by the DEP.
Are they complaints that were made and violated, or violations that
They were not
produced either a fine or some disciplinary?
These are violations that the DEP came out, inspected, and says this is in violation, and cited them for it. These are the ones that got caught on. These are the ones that they didn't hide. Because if the DEP doesn't see it, there's no violation. I should add, in addition to these 6.4 violations per well, that doesn't take into account all the violations they have on the water lines they put in, the water and gas lines they put in. If you take those into account, they have approximately another 9 to 10 violations per gas well on the piping systems, in addition to the 6.4. And a large number of these were violations. I mean, I heard them coming in here, oh, these are paper violations. They're not paper violations. Paper violation is not when you're dumping waste material into the waters of the Commonwealth. And that's what a lot of these violations were. The information I'm providing here is well documented by the DEP. And it is on record with them because the same information was provided in West Deer Township. Their supervisors turned it on on the well that they wanted to put up there. And part of it was because of their poor record.
Thank you, Fred. Okay, items for discussion, Commissioner Tillman, the Township signs.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Porter. With the documents that, Craig had and his team printed up for you, one of the first signs here is Mr. Algieri, our intern over spring. He did, a presentation up here about road signs, or, township entry signs, and then a new, digital township signage for our municipal building. And, on here, and it's not up for, vote or anything like that, this is just to discuss some of the stuff that he was, unable to do so at that time. But there's two bids, from the municipal side, and basically, it looks like the biggest differences, and I don't know if anybody saw the video that I sent you guys, where it actually, the top part had the bottom part had running scroll, almost like an HD TV, where you could put different signage, updates, amber alerts, whatever. But the top part was actually the side saying, Elizabeth Township Municipal Building / garage / police department. That actually, the difference is if we have illuminating or not from behind the sign. So that's kind of where I noticed the difference in them. The other, that's these two bits here. One of the others, the last two documents on here is, gives you an example of the entry point signs and the cost that could associate with them. There's 3 different versions, and depending on which version you choose, based off the size or thickness of the poles, and whether it's a vinyl or not, and it gives us 3 examples of what potentially this sign could look like. My hope is to try to move forward with this. I think that with the CARES Act money, we have a unique opportunity to invest in our township and also be proud of what we have. When people enter it, we want them to know that they're better. When people come to our building, we want to be able to announce announcements such as meetings, etc. Local, children's events or senior events, things along those lines on that sign. That's you can actually remotely control and program that sign that's out here. I'm open to any type of questions that I can maybe answer for you guys.
Chris, maybe get with Mr. Carlock about some of the, he said he might have some money from the county for some signage. That might help too.
Yeah, that'd be great. Let me, hold on 1 second. Let me make sure that the board doesn't have any questions.
Is there any, Greg, is there any zoning issues with having a lit up sign on West Road? Is there any issues with having a lit up sign on Rock Run right here? your zoning issues?
I would have to check on that, I can't answer that right now.
Chris, this sign here on Rock Run for the Township building, this lighted sign, would be double-sided at the road?
Yes, yes, that would be double-sided on the road. And as you saw the video, I'm assuming you saw the
I
video.
did.
It's very short, but it gives you a brief example of what it could do.
Yeah, it's programmable, you can have it do a lot of things.
Yeah, do a lot of things.
Pretty amazing. And then the entry point signs, at one place you had mentioned 3 entry points, and at another place it was 4, so.
So I counted 4, which would be Lovedale, Boston Bridge, Scenery by Brown Hill Cemetery, that area, that entry point, and then Sewersville, as you cross the Sewersville.
Okay.
That would be the 4 entry points. I think that earlier, late in the day, I sent you pictures that Nick had taken to show potential positions of those signs. The only one I would kind of question, and would be the one on Boston, because there's already a sign there.
Yeah.
So, I saw the picture today, that was Nick's proposal. I wouldn't mind, talking with him again to make sure, what his mind, what his idea was for that, but there is a sign right in the middle of that valley already, so.
Yeah, and that's what you take care of?
Yeah, that's what I want to speak to, because that Central Elizabeth Township Lions down at the bottom, it does say welcome to Elizabeth. Howcraft built that, brick sign that's there, it's metal. So, and it is really maintained, all the road crew, they cut it. We put up the flags, and we have the little, veterans of the war, World War I, World War II, yada yada. But I just planted flowers and everything there, and there's lilies, and then there's grasses planted around it. That was a Boy Scout project that did that.
And it's lighted as well?
Yes, it is. Yeah, when you actually, it runs in a triangle like this, there's a huge light that's lit. And unfortunately, last year, a motorcyclist came across and ran right into it. But, he bent it, and they were able to straighten it back up again. But,
Linda, is it true that, does RC Waters own that property? And I remember that from one of the lines
We
we,
can look it up on that.
I thought, I thought they donated that, or you paid for the
well,
property.
if that's the case, it would have been Bob
It makes sense,
Walter,
Bob Walter.
because R.C. Walter, yes, because that's where I get mulch from. So, yeah, the lions, we maintain and plant it, the grass cutting is done, I believe, by Paul.
Mr. Tone, I mean, when I think of this, people go to the high school, Wiggles Hill's popular. Every school coming from, down Route 51 is going up Wiggles Hill. So I think we should look there and also come up Route 48. We should look at all the entrances in the township.
You say Route 48,
Up where the old Part 3 course used to be.
okay, instead of where that,
Well, we also have that entrance too by Round Hill.
yeah.
So we'll look it on and get go forward. Any other comments on this?
No, I think it's important to move forward with this,
We talked about this on the comprehensive plan.
Yeah.
For the township.
Okay. I mean,
I actually think this is a great idea. We would need multiple bids though, like from different companies, I think, right? Because it's still how much it has. So we have to put it out for bid, right?
I don't
It's
think,
over 25,000.
well, it's actually a unique.
yeah, it's
sign.
proprietary, so that's a tough
Proprietary.
call.
Depends whether we get grant funds too from the county.
I'll talk to John. Yeah, I don't know, because I mean, there's a ton of sign companies out there, I don't know how proprietary that is. My gut would be you have to bid it, but that's. Yeah.
I don't think so much not these signs, but a lighted sign. you was talking about.
Is there only one place for that lighted sign? Is there only one place that lighted sign's gonna go? Just one? That's it.
What's up, so it's 25 grand for that sign.
I'll just ask.
Next item for discussions, future agenda meetings. I've had a lot of the residents come and say they'd like to go back to 2 meetings again. What I was proposing was to have this meeting, a voting meeting only on the first Monday of every month, and then on the third Monday, have an agenda meeting, basically a workshop meeting to discuss the items. Because right now, we're discussing items and we're voting on them 25 minutes, half hour later. I'd like us to be able to discuss those items, have 2 weeks, and then have a vote. So I just want to get everybody's feedback. I was thinking the third Monday of every month at 6 o'clock.
I'd be in favor of that.
I think that's a great idea.
I'm really in favor of that. I just want the public to know that there will be no public comment at these meetings. This will be strictly the commissioners, I believe.
I'm not sure what to work through and see what.
Okay, that's just one way we can do it.
It'd be a work session.
Yeah, it'd be a it'd be a workshop meeting. You're calling it an agenda meeting, but workshop meeting.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody opposed to it, or is everybody for it?
Looks great.
You wanna make it at 6 as opposed to 7? I don't care.
I did.
Yeah, that's fine.
Dan, would you need us at that meeting as well?
Great,
I mean, I would translate any business.
That's fine, I was just saying, I personally have a conflict that night, I mean, I could send somebody else in my place, and I could cover this.
We'll see how it goes, I guess, day by day. Okay. What about, sanitary, anything for the, no, okay. Let's move on. No resolutions, ordinances. Number one, motion to approve ordinance 970, establishing the use of deduct meters in Elizabeth Township. We have a roll call vote. Any motion?
So moved.
Okay, second? Second. Okay.
Commissioner Walker?
Yes.
Commissioner Campus?
Yes.
Commissioner Walls?
Yes.
Commissioner Algieri? Sorry about that. Commissioner Toma?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes. Okay. Motion to.
Commissioner Algieri will be, just texted me, said he's gonna try and join back in, just right now.
Yeah, I guess I'll get in touch with
He said,
you.
what?
How quick we all go?
Motion to advertise ordinance 971, regulating repeat uncoordinated service response calls for the same property or location in the township of Elizabeth. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Can I get a
Second.
Matt, could you do a little discussion on that for the public, tell them what that's about?
Okay, this is the nuisance call ordinance, so under certain limited circumstances, if our first responders have to respond to multiple calls that turn out to be not real calls, there would be first a notice, we would give you a warning in the notice, and then ultimately we could fine you, for the charges, for those nuisance calls. Yeah, Rachel, I'm sorry, we're like, he's trying to get Rachel.
Okay, Rich, you're on.
Non-expenditure items, consent vote.
So, I have, two items that are actually not on the agenda, that did come out of our personnel meeting that I'd like to address right now. They're each gonna require 2 votes because of the new regulations for the Sunshine Act and how we have to amend the agenda. And then afterward, this amended agenda will need to be posted on the township website, within 24 hours after this meeting. So, the first motion I have is a motion to amend the agenda to include a motion to terminate employee 2827 effective immediately. I'd ask for a motion and second.
Motion.
So
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, roll call vote.
Commissioner Walker?
No.
Commissioner Campus?
Yes.
Commissioner Walls?
Yes.
Commissioner Algieri?
Yeah.
Commissioner Toma?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
No.
Motion carries. The second item I have would then be a motion to amend the agenda. I'm sorry, that was on the amending the agenda. We actually now have to go through the motion, so I assume it's gonna be the same. At this time, I would ask for a motion and second on a motion to terminate employee 2827 effective immediately. Motion and second.
Need a second?
Second, yep.
So this is on the actual motion.
Any discussion? Roll call vote?
Commissioner Watt?
No.
Commissioner Campbell?
Yes.
Commissioner Waltz?
Yes.
Commissioner Algieri?
Yes.
Commissioner Toma?
Yes.
Commissioner Poyer?
No.
Motion carries. The second item I have would be a motion to amend the agenda to include a motion to advertise for a township building and code official. I'd ask for a motion and second on that.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? We can roll call vote.
Commissioner Watt?
Yes.
Commissioner Campbell?
Yes.
Commissioner Waltz?
Yes.
Commissioner Algieri?
Yes.
Commissioner Toma?
Yes.
Commissioner Poyer?
Yes.
And now at this time, I would ask for the actual motion to advertise for the building code official. I'd ask for a motion and second.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? We do roll call vote?
Commissioner Watt?
Yes.
Commissioner Campbell?
Yes.
Commissioner Waltz?
Yes.
Commissioner Algieri?
Yes.
Commissioner Toma?
Yes.
Commissioner Poyer?
Yes.
That carries, that motion carries.
So we can move on to the,
I'd actually like to make a motion. I'm not quite sure exactly what that was.
Yeah.
Maybe there needs to be discussion second. I would like to make a motion to deny their application at Olympus Energy and come back with a new application when their application is complete.
We can do that. I think that we should have a discussion regarding the administrative completeness of that. There were some conversations I had with the engineer and the administration relating to that issue. That's one of the things you want to discuss.
You can have a discussion.
I would think we would like to have that discussion first.
Okay.
Yeah.
since this is a new motion, we have to open up the public moment too.
Well, we didn't make any motions yet, so this is talking about the motion.
Well, now, does this get the contract? Should this call an exec and go out and talk about this?
No, I don't think that's necessary, but I do think that the board, before they take action to deny, have to remember a couple of things. Number one, procedurally, this is pending in front of the planning commission right now. It's not even really before you yet. Planning is having a meeting. You will have a chance to listen to the evidence and accept or deny that once it comes before you. It's in planning right now. The issues involving the administrative completeness, somebody had asked me those, it might have been Mr. Taylor or somebody else. I asked both our engineer and our administrative staff whether or not the applications were administratively complete. There was a determination made that they were, and that's why they went to planning. We would have, had they not been administratively complete, we would have denied them at that time, rejected the application, and then told them to come back. So those documents that are, in my opinion, have been determined to be administratively complete, which is why we're in the middle of the process right now. So again, obviously you guys you can do whatever you want, and if you want to proceed forward and make that motion, we can do that. But I would caution as to the basics. So you guys have to have a reason for the denial. You haven't heard the evidence, and if you're concerned about the other issues involving emergency plans and schools and the safety issues there, I certainly think you can ask those questions at a hearing and then make a determination. That would be my recommendation on how to handle it procedurally. So I'm not here to tell you to accept, deny. You guys, those are your decisions. But I think if you're going to deny it, you want justification to do so. You want to have a strong. I'm here legally. I'd like a strong legal position as to why we're denying it. And so I think that's something to take into consideration before you just do it. But it's up to you.
So why did planning delay?
Planning delayed it, as I understand it, because they just wanted more information on the underlying processes of gas and oil, Marcellus gas extraction. That's my understanding. You have to remember, these are conditional use applications. And I wasn't there, I wasn't at planning. I had a conflict, so I couldn't be there. But you have to remember on a conditional use application, as we've had with all of these are statutory, as a conditional use, it's allowed. It's allowed where it's zoned to happen. okay, if they meet the criteria in the ordinance. So there's checklists of things that they have to meet. If they meet those criteria, you are obligated to grant that. Now, you can attach reasonable conditions to it that relate to the use, but you would be obligated legally to grant the application if they meet all the criteria. So that's what I'm saying, it's just, it needs a little bit of thought and process to understand why you're denying it, because you can't just say, we're denying it because we don't want oil and gas development. That discussion, that ship has sailed, at least in terms of this application, because this township, back in, before I was here, whatever, made the determination that you were going to allow oil and gas development. Okay, you made that determination. This is not about, do you like oil and gas or don't you like it? That's not what this is. Okay, the township has already determined they're allowing this use. So the only question is, now that you've allowed it, do they meet the criteria? And if they do, you have to pass it. If they don't, then you deny it. Or if they do, you can approve it subject to whatever conditions are there. So that's the focus on this. Again, I don't want to lose track. I know planning, I think, wanted to get into some of those other issues. I talked to Kathy Fawcett about some of her questions. I tried to convey those to Kim Price to say, hey, look, try and figure out what, get everybody together so they can understand what the public wants to hear, what they want to hear. Again, I wasn't there, but that's my understanding, is they wanted a little bit more on just like overall oil and gas operations, how it's worked over there, what they use in terms of monitoring noise and emissions and things like that. That's my understanding of why it was continued there. And as far as the text amendment, I think I've been pretty transparent with the commissioners. I'll tell you, Scott, the reason that hasn't moved forward was because my intention was to at least proceed on this one, because as you even referenced, we're under the gun on timelines as far as the conditional use goes. And so I wanted to get that one moving. The text amendment isn't as imperative to me because it doesn't impact this application anyway, because you can't go under pending ordinance. It just wasn't going to happen. It wasn't far enough along. And so even if they wanted to do it, so to me it made sense process-wise, when we're under the gun, we have strict deadlines under the MPC for when we have to have hearings and make decisions. If we don't adhere to those timelines, the applicant, Olympus, gets what's called a deemed approval, meaning they get whatever they wanted, whatever they've applied for, they get without anything, because we missed the deadlines. So I'm very sensitive to making sure that we're staying on track with the application to make sure we're holding hearings and doing the process timely and effectively. So the idea is, I didn't know planning was gonna kick it a month. My thought was to put it on for the planning meeting this upcoming month with the application for the development, for the conditional use. If you get through the conditional use, then go ahead and start talking about the text amendment. And if not, then bump it, just till you have enough time. I thought that both of those things deserved enough time to go through them, and I felt like even though the text amendment was filed first, my feeling was if we got into that discussion, we were really going to push it on the back end with the conditional use application, those timelines. And I didn't want to get into a situation where, I'm coming saying, oh, we missed the deadline, we're done. That can't happen. So if that gives you any explanation, and certainly, Scott, if you ever have a question on things, you can call me, reach out to me, and I'll explain it to you. I don't, I'm not playing any games here. I'm doing things in the best way that I can to make sure they're both being processed accordingly. So those are my thoughts.
Josh, we will be having a hearing on this. And so I think you're asking to deny their application based on Scott's efforts to tell us that their application is incomplete, but our solicitor has now told us that that's not the case.
Mr. Myrie, you reviewed did you review the application, Mr. Myrie?
I did not personally. Probably, I think it was Scott in my office. I think he looked at it.
Did he deem it to be complete or not complete, or?
I don't know off the top of my head. It sounds to me, according to
I
that, it sounds
believe,
like
I
it's.
believe that it was deemed to be administratively complete both by KLH and I think John. John does those processes. So, because somebody had raised that question with me and said, wait a minute, the application wasn't complete. So I obviously wanted to make sure, so if it's not complete, we should deny, but it should be denied. That should be reviewed when it comes in by who's ever processing it to make sure that it's meeting everything that needs to be in there. And then they make that determination. And once they make that determination, there's timelines again, on when this all has to happen, so you have to determine it's complete, then you have to schedule it for planning, then we have to schedule, schedule it here, for our hearing here within a certain time frame, and then there are time frames on the decision.
I guess that's my question is, where are we at on this? I mean, is it 30 days, 50 days?
Yeah, so it's 60 days for us to have the hearing here, so that would put us
At
at
what
the
point?
beginning of July. But I'm getting an extension of time from the applicant in order to extend that time frame because I'm trying to keep it as processed as I can. I think the best idea is let it go through planning, let them make the decision ultimately, or a recommendation, that's what their decision is, a recommendation to you all. And then, I'm assuming in July, this is how I'm planning it anyway, you never know, but at our meeting in July, then we set a hearing date for sometime probably in early August, somewhere around there. And then we hold however many hearings, one or two, whatever it is that's necessary for you guys to make a decision.
I just don't want to get caught on sitting on our hands and then automatically get the.
No, it won't, I'm working to assure you that won't happen. That's, my job is to make sure that doesn't happen. That's why I'm so sensitive to these time limitations, to make sure that I'm not coming to you going, okay, guys, oh crap, we have to have a hearing next week. Like, I don't want to do, like, that doesn't work. Like, you guys need time to, again, look at those applications, listen to people and their comments, and think about these things. Go up and look at the site if you want. Those are all part of your decision-making process that I want to make sure you have the opportunity to do. So that won't happen. Again, the processes as though I'm working on it, at least right now, is for our meeting in July to vote on a date sometime, I'm thinking in early August when we would hold the hearing.
Our meeting's probably a week later in July, so remember that.
Pardon me?
July 4th is our first meeting, which we pushed back.
No, I understand. So I'm already working, again, to get the written extension prior to all that. The first thing I have to do is get the written extension, okay? Because that's keys everything, because if not, then we're back to, we gotta get this done. I'll get the extension, and then, like I said, that's my time frame, that happens.
I'd like to vote for public comment, and we can talk again.
I mean, there's no motion on the floor at this time, but it's up to John.
Okay for public comment?
It's up to you guys.
I have a question, I haven't come to speak yet. If we denied this without even seeing anything, can we be held liable?
So, more than likely, if you deny it, let's say based on administrative completeness, it's just an issue that would have to come up. They would file an appeal certainly, and we would end up in the court of common pleas fighting an appeal. So again, I don't care what you guys do. I'm trying to have my position from the lawyer's perspective is to make sure it's defensible. Whatever you guys want to do, we can do it. Just make sure it's defensible, because I don't want to go to town and then have Judge James basically, say you can't even do this. That's a problem.
I don't know how you can vote yes or no without even doing anything.
That's the reason I'm speaking up right now, is because I'm not sure that you can, because again, even in the information I have, I can't sit here, and trust me, I will go back and look at the documents and double check and triple check to make sure it was administratively complete, and I'll update you guys and let you know, but the information that I was given, when this was asked to me, I did what I felt was the reasonable thing and checked with our engineer and the administrative staff who deals with administrative completeness. And I asked them flat out, I said, hey, look, I'm getting asked questions saying we should deny this because it's administratively complete. Was the application complete? And I got a no uncertain email back confirming, and I think Greg, you were copying on that, I think too, saying, yes, it was administratively complete, and that's basically why it went to plan, because it was deemed to be administratively complete. So I can't say that I've made that determination, but our people, our township has made that determination that it's administratively complete. So it's a concern of mine if we say it's no longer administratively complete. Now that comes, the judge is saying to me, well, why'd your guys say it was?
So you're suggesting wait till it's through planning?
My suggestion is yes. I think that when you guys have a total picture of the application and documents that were submitted, the DEP approvals, I think all that stuff that Scott is bringing up is very valid points. I mean, there are things that need to be thought about and looked at, and you guys have to know the answers to them. You know, but I think that that's also part of a bigger discussion in terms of, you know, like the planning's getting into, health and safety impacts, the closest to the school, these things that they're gonna come up in the hearings. I think there's more to it. I think by picking one thing out at this time, you're not looking at the full picture. So, you know, whether you want to accept it, whether you want to approve it because you feel it meets the conditions, or you want to deny it because, yeah, I think it's administratively complete, plus there's these other things, it gives a more complete picture, in my opinion, for whatever decision you guys make. If nothing else, but you haven't lost anything. You're except for your time to listen to both sides and what they have to say, in my opinion. So, again, that's just, I don't vote. So, if you want to move with your motion, you certainly can. It's just these are my opinions.
When the recommendation comes from planning costs, we have three choices: deny, accept, or send it back to planning.
Yeah, so there's deadlines on terms, that's not actually true. So you actually, they'll give you a recommendation. They'll say, we recommend approval with conditions, with these conditions, or they'll say we recommend denial for these reasons. Based on that recommendation, you can do whatever you want. Planning is only recommended. They can sit here and say, we think this is the greatest thing in the world, and we want you to approve it as it is and buy them all new cars. That could be the recommendation. And you could sit here and you could say, nope, I'm denying this for this reason, this reason, this reason. It is not binding on you by any means. It's an initial review by an independent board that will give you an understanding based on the evidence that you're going to hear as well. You know, it's the same evidence essentially of what their feelings are on it and thoughts on it. So it's a good first step, but no, you can't really send it back to planning once they make their determination, because there's really nothing else for them to do. They've reviewed it, they've listened to the testimony, they've made the decision and made the recommendation. And we're under deadlines as to when the decision is due.
Well, you've heard it, and send it back to planning, you've heard it, so it would fall.
Because it does though, because there's deadlines on the determination. So that's what I'm saying. The conditional use applications can be tricky if you're not paying attention to the calendar, unfortunately. Because you could think, we'll just bump this, we'll just keep it going, but it doesn't work that way. The law forces you to either process it and get rid of it one way or the other, or get the applicant to agree in writing that they're okay with your timeline. So it really is bad, and if you don't, it's a deemed approval. So every way that law is written for conditional use is slanted toward the applicant. It helps the applicant, because they can push, you know, if you're not moving, they can push you. You know, and then they can say, hey, we will agree with you, but you're gonna now work on an agreed upon time frame. So that's just how it works, and that's everywhere. That's not this application, that's state law. That's just how it is.
So they're agreeing to extend the timeline?
Yeah. That's my thoughts.
I'll hold the motion. Yeah. I'll wait to see the facts, you know, see the parties. That's fine. I'll do that.
Yep.
No expenditure items, just be another.
This will be number 5.
Number 5, motion to approve commissioner and special meeting minutes dated April 19th, 2022. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion passes. Okay, motion 6, motion to approve the commissioners meeting minutes dated May 2nd, 2022. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay, motion passed. Number 7, motion to accept the resignation of President Bart Rocco from the Elizabeth Township Board of Commissioners effective June 6th, 2022. Can I get a motion? Can I get a second?
Second.
Any comments? I want to make a comment. I came on with Bart 2.5 years ago. I think he's done a phenomenal job. He's done a great job as president. He has brought structure, policies, procedures, stuff we never had here before, job descriptions. You know, it's a loss to not have Bart here, I just wanted to say that.
I was gonna say this, pretty much the same thing, from watching the township meetings for 20 years, and seeing chaos amongst over here, and he was able to bring structure to that, and, unite the board together, maybe not always agree, but, show class from everybody, so I appreciate his efforts for our township.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion passed. Number 8, motion to reorganize Board of Commissioners. Did I get a motion?
Make that motion.
Second.
Just do all in favor.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Okay, so this time you can actually reorganize the board, so I would ask for a motion to nominate a president of the board.
I would like to make the motion to nominate Dan Poyer as president of the board.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
I think we also need to do a vice president.
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to nominate Commissioner Josh Walls as vice president.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, motion passed. Okay, number 9, motion to accept letters of interest for Board of Commissioner appointment to Ward 1. Appointment term will expire on December 31st, 2023. Letter of interest shall be sent to the township manager by the end of day Monday, June 20th, 2022. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion passed. Okay, number 10, motion to approve the Boyer consolidation plan as recommended by the planning commission with final approval from KLH engineers. This plan will consolidate 4 parcels with an existing residence built over 3 of the parcels into 1 single parcel. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, motion passes. And number 11, motion to approve the Boyer consolidation plan as recommended by the planning commission with final approval from KLH engineers. This plan will divide parcel 1130-D-11 into 2 parcels. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Okay, a second?
Second.
Okay, Bruce? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion passes. Okay, next is expenditure items. Number 1, motion to approve the township bill warrant dated June 6, 2022 in the amount of $617,062.50. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Commissioner Walk?
Yes.
Commissioner Campus? Yes. Commissioner Walls?
Yes.
Commissioner Algieri? Yes. Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
President Poyer?
Yes. Okay, number 2, motion to approve the sanitary bill warrant dated June 6, 2022 in the amount of $253,436.14. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Commissioner Walk?
Yes.
Commissioner Campus?
Yes.
Commissioner Walls?
Yes.
Commissioner Algieri? Yes. Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
President Poyer?
Yes. Number 3, motion to approve bond requisition number 12 in the amount of $89,299.68. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Walk?
Yes.
Commissioner Campus?
Yes.
Commissioner Walls?
Yes.
Commissioner Algieri? Yes. Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
President Poyer?
Yes. Number 4, motion to award contract 2022-3 for Happy Hollow Interceptor Cleaning and CCTV to Insight Pipe Contracting LLC at a cost of $131,089. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I'd like some discussion.
Sure. So Happy Hollow, that line, that main is just short of 5,000 feet long, and I think we all know the topography of where that goes. This is totally beyond the scope of equipment that manpower that Veolia has to clean and camera that line. Hence the reason it was put out for bid. Main reason is that this line is taking on a tremendous amount of inflow of stormwater. It results each time we have a major rainstorm, excessive sanitary sewer overflow at the Wiley Pump Station. Part of our 537 plan is not only to complete this Force Main project and the new pump stations, but our next part of that plan is to eliminate the stormwater sewer overflows at Wiley, which may mean a new pump station down there, and we all know what that costs. So whatever we can do to preventively eliminate stormwater inflow to that area, we need to do it. I will also tell you, board, that this is just a clean-in camera. It does not do anything to fix it. But we have to just continue to move forward with this. This is part of the main thinking behind the sanitary raises that we did earlier this year, was to get this project completed. So we all vote for it.
Rick? Yes, okay.
Commissioner Walker?
Yes.
Commissioner Campus?
Yes.
Commissioner Walsh?
Yes.
Commissioner Algieri?
Yeah.
Commissioner Toma?
Yes.
President Boyer?
Yes. Okay, number 5, motion to donate $150 to St. Joaquin and St. Anne, which is the St. Michael's Parish Community Festival. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Commissioner Walker?
Yes.
Commissioner Campus?
Yes.
Commissioner Walsh?
Yes.
Commissioner Algieri? Commissioner Toma?
Yes.
President Boyer?
Yes. Okay, number 6, motion to donate $500 to the Blainville Volunteer Fire Department Annual Community Days. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Roll call vote.
Commissioner Walker?
Yes.
Commissioner Campus?
Yes.
Commissioner Walsh?
Yes.
Commissioner Algieri? Commissioner Toma?
Yes.
President Boyer?
Yes. Okay, number 7, motion to ratify the vote from May 13th, 2022 to purchase K-9 Officer Bear from the city of Clarendon at a cost of $10,000. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Walker?
Hold on 1 second. Mr. Hawk, would you be able to talk about what this could mean for our, township?
Yeah, narcotics and opiate addiction continues to be a struggle for all of the United States. We are not immune from that here in Elizabeth Township, Forward Township. Having a second narcotics dog that allows us to hone in and cause some similar pain and grief to the families who are impacted by drug possession, delivery. Is what my goal is one of my goals, to keep the community safe and a great place to raise, work, and live. So an additional K-9 is something that's never happened here, and I look forward to getting Bear on the force and actively out patrolling here in the near future.
$10,000 for a trained K-9. Is that a good deal for our township residents?
Yes, I mean, there's scenarios that can cost as much as $50,000. So, it's no secret, we hired his handler in our most recent civil service process. So it made good business sense for the township.
Thank you.
Chief, how old is Bear?
He's just had his 4th birthday.
Any other comments? I think this is great for the township. Okay, let's take a vote.
Commissioner Walker?
Yes.
Commissioner Campus?
Yes.
Commissioner Walsh?
Yes.
Commissioner Algieri?
Yeah.
Commissioner Toma?
Yes.
President Boyer?
Yes. Okay, number 8, motion to purchase the K-9 police vehicle from the city of Clarendon at a cost not to exceed $10,000 and contingent upon inspection approval by the Elizabeth Township mechanic. ARPA funds will be used to pay for this vehicle. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Chief, did you get a chance to kind of look at it?
Yeah, we went over, I took Rich, our mechanic, over. They generously delivered it to our location, so we could go up on our racks, and we got a nice look at it, a general idea what the parts are to get it to equivalent with the quality of our fleet.
Okay.
We'll be moving forward pending this vote.
And just the equipment for the dog alone would cost more than $10,000.
Outfitting a K-9 vehicle is roughly $12,000.
Yeah. Perfect. Take a
Commissioner Walker,
Yes.
Commissioner Campbell.
Yes.
Commissioner Walls,
Yes.
Commissioner Algieri,
Yeah.
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
President Hoyer.
Yes. Number 9, motion to purchase 2 police vehicles from Forward Township at a cost not to exceed $27,000 and contingent upon inspection approval by the Forward Township mechanic. ARPA funds will be used to pay for these vehicles. Take a motion.
So moved.
Take a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Chief, did you get a chance to inspect these vehicles?
Yes, these vehicles were inspected at their location on the rack. Both vehicles are, one vehicle is in pristine condition, the other one is very serviceable and has some life left in it.
And this will allow all of our officers to have their own car now?
Yes, this will allow us to move to a 1-to-1 ratio for our team.
Perfect. Can we take a vote?
Commissioner Walker.
Yes.
Commissioner Campbell.
Yes.
Commissioner Walls,
Yes.
Commissioner Algieri,
Yeah.
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
President Hoyer.
Yes. Number 10, motion to purchase an AED unit for Buena Vista Fire Department for use of the Buena Vista pool at a cost not to exceed $2,500. ARPA funds will be used to pay for this item. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Dennis, do you want to?
Yeah, just a little bit of background. When they had their inspection down at Beauty Pool, which, after learning about this and the other stuff, Beauty Vista Pool's the oldest open pool in Allegheny County, for 72 consecutive years. They were shut down for 3 weeks when it burned down last year. They had it back in operation in 3 weeks, other than the building, I think they had pumps going and stuff like that. Talking to them, I think they have over 100 residential parties this year. People have already expressed interest in renting it for parties, family reunions, car shows, whatever. So, it's open to anybody in the community, anybody outside the community, actually. If you go down there anytime in the summer, it's packed with kids and families and everything like that. So, but the problem was with the AED, when all the inspections came through this year, they never had an AED on site. They had it in the concession stand or in the club. And it was shared between the pool and the ambulance service or the fire department. So if they got a call, they took the AED. You have to have one on site at all times for Allegheny County. So, they approached the board. I asked the commissioners, being a community pool. And, the only thing was, just like anything else, baby food and everything, you can't get them. So, the first bid went on, the first quote that would actually match what the township has was not a problem, but it was 16 to 18 weeks out. So 16 to 18 weeks out is, it's like a work. So we fought through the red tape and we found one. I spoke with the guys that run all the AED stuff down there, and they said it's actually an excellent, it's better than what they have. We have it outfitted for children and small, actually infants and children, because unfortunately, if something's gonna happen down there, it's probably gonna be a kid. So, it's gonna be mounted down there with an alarm box, and I think the alarm box, if it goes off, it notifies, if you pull the AED, I think it's supposed to notify the 911 call to let people know they need help. So, the cost was a little bit more, but I think it's definitely, worth it for the community and for the great job that they do down there at the pool.
Yeah, I think it's worth it just for the safety. It's safe,
That's not
one child or one adult.
That's it. They can handle everything. I spoke with, Angela, who runs, he lives on my street. I saw him today when I was pulling out ahead in my truck with kids outside. He said he'll pull the specs on it, and when they get it, they have a meeting on Wednesday. They're gonna go over it on Wednesday with all the people that work there, then they'll train the lifeguards and they're ready to go.
Commissioner Walker.
Yes.
Commissioner Campbell.
Yes.
Commissioner Walls,
Yes.
Commissioner Algieri,
Yeah.
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
President Hoyer.
Yes. Number 11, motion to award contract 2022-04 for the 2022 paving projects to A. Liberoni Incorporated at a cost of $495,306.82. Funds from the liquid fuels fund will be used to pay for the paving. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? You want to state the vote?
Commissioner Walker.
Yes.
Commissioner Campbell.
Yes.
Commissioner Walls,
Yes.
Commissioner Algieri,
Yeah.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
President Poyer?
Yes. Number 12, motion to hire Betters Company Incorporated to demolish the old salt shed at a cost of $3,950. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? I think it's a fantastic price. Oh, when do they plan on starting? Okay. Let's take a vote.
Commissioner Watt?
Yes.
Commissioner Campbell?
Yes.
Commissioner Wallace?
Yes.
Commissioner Algieri?
Yeah.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
President Poyer?
Yes. Number 13, motion to use the grant writing services of Rainbow Org on an as-needed basis at no cost to the township except for mailing and printing costs. Future grant matching funds will be approved by the Board of Commissioners before grants are submitted. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
A little bit of discussion. Rainbow's a local resident, he's a grant writer. This is just, if he sees a grant that he thinks is good for the township, we want to give him the opportunity to be able to write these. His fee will be built into the grant, so it will not cost the township anything except any postage or printing costs, and that's it. Let's take a vote.
Commissioner Watt?
Yes.
Commissioner Campbell?
Yes.
Commissioner Wallace?
Yes.
Commissioner Algieri?
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
President Poyer?
Yes. Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everyone.